So welcome. This is Maddie, a former student who is studying at the University of Birmingham. Okay, so Maddie, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I went to St Mary's High School and I did maths, biology and chemistry at Hereford.
Gosh, those sound beastly hard. And how did you find those three subjects?
I loved all of them pretty much equally, which made it quite difficult choosing somewhere to go afterwards. But I found first year okay, definitely in biology and chemistry. I could sort of use the way I've been learning in GCSE quite well. I started off with fast track maths. I think I got to about Easter and decided it really wasn't necessary for what I needed to do. It definitely took away the time and effort that I needed to focus on my other subjects. So it's quite a difficult decision because I do really love maths. And then second year was definitely a little more difficult. The grades started dropping a little bit. I was like, okay, this is hard stuff now. So I had to really reevaluate how I was learning, I think. So I spent a bit of time at the beginning of the year, like experimenting with different revision techniques, and then it kind of clicked, I think. Yeah.
Really interesting. So what did you change? What kind of revision mechanisms did you change from and to?
I think at the start I sort of just like rote learning things, which I'd got away with at GCSE. I think a lot of people fall into that trap. And then I was like, okay, I need to apply my knowledge in a different way. So past papers were like my go-to, like every single day doing them, reviewing them like a really harsh examiner would. I think that's what really helped. Yeah.
That is really interesting. And actually, that's quite helpful because at university, you might get less feedback, but actually, that kind of looking at yourself through that kind of harsh judgment. And I think that's the thing is you're doing really tough A levels. I'm going to go back though to the fast track maths because I think it's really important that I think it's absolutely okay to kind of go, actually, that doesn't quite work. This and to really think about whether your subject combinations, there are students who, for example, move a little bit, who make some changes. I think you kind of think you're in a minority, but actually it is okay to have those discussions. Or for example, you're changing some students have picked up like a BTEC and then changed to something else in second year, or you're doing fast track and you drop back to ordinary, really hard maths. And actually, that's definitely a good conversation to have. So why did you know that you wouldn't need the further maths? Because what course were you kind of thinking about?
So I kind of knew that I wanted to do biochemistry. I think there was a moment in chemistry where my teacher mentioned cis-trans isomers in the retina, and I just like thought it was really cool how that sent a like nerve signal to the brain, and it just like clicked for me. I was like, that's so cool how you can merge the two subjects and really use one subject's like niche intricacies to really understand another. Yeah, it was really cool.
That is that niche moment, though, isn't it? Tell
Yeah.
me, what is biochemistry? So, layman here.
It is pretty much like really understanding the mechanisms of mostly organic chemistry, but we do cover a lot of physical things as well. And just using that to really understand how that affects organisms and like the living systems around us. Yeah, it's so broad but really fun.
I was about to say that sounds like a really broad course, and it's kind of a mixture of both. And then tell me a little bit about how did you choose to go to Birmingham University? So obviously it's really nice, not too far away from Hereford and the surrounding areas, and it's kind of very famous for Old Joe, I think it is, the kind of campus, that kind of thing. Tell us, how did you choose Birmingham?
So the main thing for me was the course. I could do an integrated master's with a placement year for 4 years, which is quite rare. So that was the main draw, because I knew I wanted to go down the research road after my degree, and I wanted a placement as well. So it just ticked all the boxes really. And obviously being close is quite helpful as well, getting back if I need to. It's a really lovely campus, which also helps.
And what have you got involved with while you've been there?
And there's so many societies and things to do. It's unbelievable. I only just learnt about another society the other week called Paint and Sip, which who knew that existed? But I've always been involved in climbing, so I like spend a lot of time with that society. I'm now a member of the committee, which is really fun. But yeah, I'm loving it.
And then tell me about how have you found the first year?
I think the academic step up is between GCSE and A levels, because A levels are just hard. With uni, it's more about the time management because you have so much free time, and it's all down to how you really work with that. And also, if you're moving away from home, there's all those things to consider too. But the first term was a lot of refreshing your knowledge after the summer, trying to remember how to do everything, bringing everyone up to the same level. And then the second term has got a little bit harder, but yeah, super interesting stuff.
And then tell me about how did the kind of teaching yourself independence at college, because you had directed study periods, and how did that help? Have you noticed a difference between yourself and some of your friends?
Oh yeah, definitely. Some of my friends that went to school sixth forms and they had very like regimented time. Yeah, they seem to struggle with what to do with the free time. They're like they don't know. Whereas I've got sort of like a format that I follow. Like I do my pre-learning, I go to the lecture, and then I consolidate afterwards, which I followed in sixth form. Which yeah, it's really set me up well, I think.
Yeah, and I think that's a massive thing that a lot of the universities know this about Hereford Sixth Form College students, because you do well at uni. And actually, almost all of the first years at some point kind of don't get their study periods, go off and socialize, don't plan their time well. And actually, you learn that gradually through your second year with us. And then when you get to uni, you're like, okay, I know how to do this. I just need to also do my washing. What would you say is the biggest change? Like a practical thing, a subject thing? What have you noticed the biggest difference about being at uni is?
I think in terms of the work is the lectures are so different to classroom things. It's just they kind of bombard you with information for an hour straight, and it's quite hard to keep up with the pace. That's the difference, I think.
That is, and that's also a massive thing to know. Like you go to university if you want that kind of teaching, like you go to a lecture and then you follow up with personal reading, like consolidation, seminars, etc. And what are you excited about in your course that's going to come up?
Just chosen my modules for second year, and one of the ones I've done is microbiology. So I'm really looking forward to that. It's kind of like all the viruses, the bacteria, and also linking that to public health, which I think is a bit more of a left field area in my course, but should be exciting.
That does sound really interesting. And then if you were going to give your hints and tips to your former self,
I think don't panic is definitely some advice I would have liked to have heard. Work out what works for you and kind of stick to it and have a bit of faith in the process and take every step at a time. At one point, I was definitely overwhelming myself with, oh no, I've got to do this, this, and this. And I think if I'd taken my time and just like, I'll do one bit at a time, definitely would have been a bit nicer.
I think that's the biggest thing, is actually trust the process, that there are ups, there are downs. And I think it's all about kind of busting those myths, isn't it? That actually it isn't a linear journey. And actually it might take until your second year for you to find how you work best. And that's absolutely normal. And you will go on to world-class universities like the University of Birmingham, which is your exact position. So thank you so much for your time, Maddy. And it is so lovely to see you. Very exciting to hear about your weird interests, how it actually developed into your degree. So thank you so much. Lovely to chat, and see you soon.
Bye.